Do you have trouble switching chords? Does it sound like this? Today, I'll be sharing 5 tips to help you become more efficient in your chord changes. Hi everyone, today we're going to be working on switching chords quickly and more efficiently. So let's get started with tip number 1.
Know your chords.
The reason a lot of beginners struggle with switching chords is they simply don't know the chords well enough. They have to remember where their fingers go, which strings to strum, and so on. This leads to a long hesitation in between the transition. Before attempting to play a song, you want to review all the chords that are used in that song. Make sure that you know how to play those chords, where your fingers are going to go, which strings you're going to strum. Tip number 2, think ahead. If you already know the chords and the issue is the transition, then the next step is to think ahead. As you play the chord, you want to think about the next chord and visualize it. You should know what the chord looks like, you should know what fingers you use on your left hand, and what strings you're strumming. Don't wait for the last second to think about where you're going. It's only going to make it more difficult. Imagine you're driving on a busy freeway in the lane furthest from the exit, and it's not until you reach your exit that you try to make it over. However, the freeway is packed and full of traffic, so you can't get over and you miss your exit. If you had thought ahead and made your way over to the lane closest to the exit in advance, you would have made it with no problem. Tip 3 is efficiency. This one's my favorite. Once you know your chords and are working on switching between them, you want to ask yourself, can you leave any fingers where they are? Think about what notes are shared between the two chords. If possible, you want to avoid lifting all the fingers if you don't need to. Let's take the example of E minor to C major. The second finger is used on the D string, 2nd fret, for both of these chords. So if we just leave our finger there and move our other fingers, it becomes much easier and efficient. The second part of efficiency is always looking for the quickest way to get your fingers to the next position. Let's look at our example of E minor to C again. We have the second finger staying put, but we need to move our first finger down to the B string, 1st fret, and we also need to place our third finger on the A string. So let's start with the first finger. Let's think about where we're going to go and move our finger there as quickly as possible. Once we have completed the movement, we can then focus on dropping the third finger. To become more comfortable, we just repeat with a few repetitions. At first, you might try moving one finger at a time, but your end goal should be to switch all fingers in one quick and exact motion. Let's try a few more examples. We'll take G with a doubled 5th, to a C add 9, to a D. Go ahead and pause the video here and see if you can identify the fingers we won't need to move. If you said your third finger, you're right. The third finger stays in the same place for all 3 of these chords. Between the G with the doubled 5th to the C add 9, we also have the 4th finger staying in the same place. The first and the second finger simply just move down 1 string each. When going from the C add 9 to the D, we can move our first and second finger down, placing your first finger on the G string, and then the second finger on the high E, and then finally lifting our 4th finger. Let's try another chord progression. G to E minor to C to D. First, between G to E minor, we have our first finger staying on the A string, 2nd fret. From E minor to C, we have the second finger remaining on the D string. However, we have no shared notes between C to D. So with this transition, we have to think about which finger is going where and what's the quickest transition. I like to start with my first finger since it's the strongest finger and have the other fingers follow behind. After you have worked on moving each finger, then try moving all your fingers in one motion. This takes patience and practice. Try this only with your left hand. Don't strum the chord, just focus on the movement. Tip 4 is practice. Consistent practice makes your life a whole lot easier. So once you have worked on the left hand efficiency, you want to try being able to switch in time. So using only your left hand, you want to set up one chord and start counting slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And by the time you get to 1, you want to switch to your next chord. So if you're switching from an E minor chord and you're going to go to a C chord, okay, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. So this time I'm only going to do with my left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. At first, you might be using all that time to transition, but as you improve, you will need less time and eventually be able to switch right before you reach 1. This technique works great for music in 4/4, but if we're playing a song in 3/4, then we would just simply count 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. If you have a hard time keeping your counting consistent, you can use a metronome to help keep you on track. Metronomes are very helpful tools that all musicians should have. If you don't have a metronome, I highly recommend you download an app for free or use an online metronome. Tip 5, go slow. Faster you play, the faster the transitions need to be. So if we slow down our strum pattern, it gives us enough time to think ahead and prepare ourselves. That's really fast, but if we slowed it down, it's giving us enough time to transition over. So many times I watch beginners freak out and panic as they switch chords, and simply due to them playing too fast. If any of these tips were helpful, please consider helping me out by clicking the like button. And because you're all so awesome, I'm going to share a bonus tip. Keep going. This is a great technique that a lot of guitar players use. All you do is you strum with your right hand as you're transitioning, so you're hitting open strings. So if you were playing from D to A, that transition from the D to the A, you're strumming open strings. It's a great trick to help with transitions, and it also adds a little different flavor to your songs and strum patterns. So let's review. We need to know the chords, how to play it, where are the fingers, and what fingers to strum. We need to think ahead, start thinking about the chord you'll be switching to before it's too late. You want to be efficient. Don't move fingers if you don't need to, and move your fingers in the most direct way possible. Practice. All of these tips require practice, so do the work and you'll see the results. And then finally, go slow. Give yourself time to make those transitions. So what was your favorite tip? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions or tips that I missed, I'd love to hear them too. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy practicing.